Millard Business Association for once again hosting the Candidates Forum. There's a question card out here. Since it's the Millard Business Association, and I think it's the issue, at least from the people that I hear, that they most want their elected officials to deal with is the economy. And let me first submit that I don't believe that what Congress has done in the last year has been a positive impact helping small businesses and businesses thrive the recession and come out of it where they can thrive and create jobs. For example, when I meet with small businesses around the metropolitan area, I hear one thing. They want certainty. They want to know what's going to happen to them next year. And some of the policies with regard to cap and trade that would increase their energy costs, and if you're a manufacturer, create tremendous burden on fuels. Health care, it creates uncertainty because they don't know as an employer what they're going to have to put aside later. And then, of course, we have the tax increases that are going to hit business in the future. Then we need to deal with the big issues that face our country today. Number one is, yes, we need to work in the short term to stabilize our economy so it can grow. But what frustrates me is there's no discussion about long-term planning for our economy as we transition to a competitive global economy. What are we doing to make sure that we position ourselves to be competitive so that our kids will have the same opportunities that we had growing up? And I got to tell you, I'm a little fearful that we aren't doing the right things right now. So stabilizing the economy, quit passing laws or trying to attempt laws that are creating confusion and uncertainty. Long-term strategy, which is going to have to be focused on competitiveness, getting our manufacturing base from China, and making sure that we are competitive in a tax environment. Most industrialized nations worldwide have gone to a flat tax that allows them to be competitive, and I think that's what we need to do. We need to help reform our education so that our kids that graduate today will have the education necessary to be competitive in a 21st century global economy. Those are some of the long-term strategies. Another long-term, but I think it could actually be a short-term and mid-term strategies. We need to be energy independent. And I'm proud of the record that I have in supporting clean energies and alternative energies to make us less reliant on foreign oil, which I think endangers our future both economically and in a national security sense. Last, a drag on our economy is the deficit and the national debt. And it's about time that we get serious as a country and elected officials show a propensity to say no occasionally on the new spending. We have in this budget $1.3 trillion deficit. But yet, it's increasing spending across the board, except for if you factor in inflation into it, it's really about a net zero gain for our defense. So we need to start engaging the people in discussions of how we can bend the spending curve in our entitlement programs, and Congress needs to show some fiscal restraint. We need to start buying down the national debt. Otherwise, just the interest payments alone are going to take up a significant portion of the budget. With that, what I'd like to do is reserve my last few minutes to answer questions. Mark, do you have any cards?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I do. The first question for Bill Soul is, what have you done about the Omaha sewer separation? Have you had any involvement in that?
Well, I have had some involvement, and just as by way of a little bit of background under that. That's probably about 15 years ago, 14 years ago, the EPA interpreted the Clean Water Act that you can no longer allow sewage to go into the waterways that you have to separate out and be able to clean, separate your sewer part, as well as take care and make sure that the stormwater runoff isn't taking any toxic elements into our waterways. So that requires then almost every sewer from east of 72nd Street to have to be redone, since those are combined sewers. Fortunately, in the appropriations cycle, that I've been able to get money for the city of Omaha to help offset those costs. Been working with Mayor Suttle to find a variety of different ways, maybe involving the Corps of Engineers. So that's how, at a federal level, we can be helpful, and I'll continue to be helpful and work with the city to see how we can help alleviate some of the pressures from the EPA's interpretation of the Clean Water Act.
Okay, thank you. I do have a couple more questions. How can we control government's intrusion on our personal lives?
Well, that's a great question, and I think that's a question most often, or quite frequently asked this last year, as we've seen the government, well, really almost every major bill has increased the power of government, all the way starting with the first bill out of the chute was a stimulus package, where the vast majority of the stimulus dollars went to growing government, and almost every major law since then has empowered government over people. And I believe in a fundamental philosophy of limited government. I believe in the phrase empowering individuals, not government, because I think that's the value upon which our country was built. So first of all is that we've got to stop the power grab by those in power in Washington, D.C., because what we do is yield our individual rights to them, whether it's picking our own doctors or having the rights to bank and take loans out and do basic activities that most businesses have to do. The less government interference, I believe, is part of the success, or part of the recipe for small businesses' success.
I have another question regarding health care. It says, why now has the pre-existing condition not been identified as a big problem, and what do you plan to actually do about it?
Well, the pre-existing problem has been dealt with by way of doing special funds for people that can't get into the insurance pool. High-risk pools have been developed by states to help those people with pre-existing conditions that can't get into insurance. If you eliminate pre-existing exclusion for everyone, so all the competitors in the market have to play by the same rules, then I think you can have a marketplace where will cover, well, of course, if they have to, they have to, but the reality is, the fear is from the insurance market was that if you're the only one without a pre-existing exclusion, then the sickest go into your policy and collapse it upon its way. They can't afford just to have the sickest people in there. But if all companies have to accept them, then it should spread the risk around, which is one reason why that's both the Republicans and Democrats have said we agree that that needs to be eliminated.
Looks like you have 1 minute, and so I do have one. It says, do you listen to talk radio? And if you so, who's your favorite talk radio host? How's that for
Yeah, the answer is I don't really listen to sports talk. Talk radio. Once in a while, I'll listen to unsportsmanlike conduct with Kevin Kugler and Michael Severe. That's usually just during the Husker season. But otherwise, I'll watch cable news and read lots of newspapers.
Thank you very much.
For that, thank you for allowing me to be part of the forum today.
Thank you very much. If you'll just leave the microphone over there for our next candidate. Our next candidate up is going to be Pat Ricketts. Pat Ricketts is a candidate for the